Minds TV is brought to you by FreeKeene.com. FreeKeene.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. FreeKeene.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. FreeKeene.com.
Are we on? We're live, and welcome to live here at Pumpkinfest, Free Minds TV. We're here live on Cheshire TV, so welcome. Come on down, check it out. We are here with you, as always, is Toby.
And Nick.
You can log on to our website, freemindstv.com, check out what we normally do for a show, a political commentary where we're not really red team, blue team so much, but something in between if you want to check it out. But today we're doing something a little bit different. We are at Pumpkinfest. I think it's the 18th annual Pumpkinfest here in Keene, New Hampshire.
It's 20 years. It was 18th or 19th annual. I forget which one it is.
It's been going on for a long time, and it's grown. It's changed throughout the years. Now we have more people than pumpkins coming out. I think they're expecting something like 80,000 people to come out this year.
That's what I've heard, but to be honest, this morning it seemed like the turnout was kind of light. I mean, traffic this morning was a lot lighter than what I had been used to in the past. So I'm not sure if quite as many people are turning out. There is kind of a threat of rain, and it is early in the day. So
well, rain is holding off, so it's really nice out here. I mean, it's a typical fall day. I mean, while there is rain in the forecast, it's not raining yet, so there's still time. Come on down, enter your jack-o'-lantern in, because I think we're trying to beat Boston's record now. They beat us out.
30,000. I mean, it's quite a high record. 30,000 or something like that. So.
But they're a big town. They have millions of people. We have, what, 25,000 people in the city of Keene plus the college, and then commuters that come in. So a big town of millions of people trying to beat out poor little Keene, New Hampshire. It's not really fair. So, but we still do put up a pretty good fight, within a few thousand, I think, last year at least. And who knows, maybe we'll beat them out this year.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows what Boston's going to do this year. I don't know if it's going to be that big. I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain it in a city like Boston or not. But, you know, whether turnout is lighter than usual or not, there's still thousands of people here, I would say. So
yeah, and there's all sorts of vendors to check out, different things to see. Of course, the thousands and thousands of unique jack-o'-lanterns. You won't see anything like it. I mean, there's other pumpkin fests around, but Keene is the original pumpkin fest, and I'd say it's the only one that I've ever attended. So maybe I'm a little bit biased here, but I'm partial to Keene's Pumpkin Fest.
Yeah, and I mean, I know certainly the downtown merchants are liking it right now. It's probably a nice boost. They certainly do a brisk business. I know some other people in Keene, you know, if you just live here and you're not too into crowds, there are some people who would prefer to stay away. Maybe you're watching us on Cheshire TV right now because you didn't want to come down and be in amongst the crowds, but yeah, there are a lot of people who like it. So, you know, I'm glad we have it. Some people would say it's too big. I don't know. I mean, if you live in downtown, it can be a little bit big, but I'm only a couple blocks away from downtown, so it hasn't really been an inconvenience for me today.
Yeah, I decided to walk on in. I'm a couple miles out, but there's pretty much no parking. People are parking way down past my house, so there's so many people coming in because it really is a small town. I mean, we have a capacity for about 30,000 people that are living here, 25, 30,000 people that are living here. So you're pretty much quadrupling the numbers that are coming in here. So there's shuttle buses that are taking people in, coming from all over the place to come in from all other states. But like you said, if people don't want to face the crowds and come out, they can watch live on Cheshire TV if you're in the radius. But now Cheshire TV is online, so no matter where you are in the world, you can watch Cheshire TV live. And so if you're in a different part of the country, different part of the world, you can watch us live here on Cheshire TV and get a taste of the Pumpkin Fest for yourselves.
Yeah, it's really amazing, and maybe people will keep that in mind for next year because I'm pretty sure it'll be the same setup. And you know, if you're from New York or Massachusetts and you want to watch next year, watch away. I mean, if you can't make it out to Keene.
Yeah, and Cheshire TV's going. I assume they're going to be here next year. I know the Cheshire TV is going to be on the air for many, many years to come, so I'm guessing that they're going to come out here because there's really positive reviews people get from this. A lot of people who don't only want to face the crowds can't come down because maybe they're older or they're stuck in bed, they're sick or something, so they can't come, but they can still get the taste of the Pumpkin Fest, still get that Keene atmosphere that you have down here staying at home with Cheshire TV. So thanks so much for the Cheshire TV crew. We didn't even have to set this up to be here, to come out here Lee Perkins and the crew were out here, I think, at 4 o'clock in the morning setting things up before dawn broke to get all this set up.
They'll be out here late tonight, probably taking it down, I would imagine.
Yeah, there's a lot of equipment. There's nothing left in the Cheshire TV studios. All the equipment is here, scattered throughout Pumpkinfest. We've got several cameras right here. The boom camera that's surveying the crowd 12 feet up, and so all sorts of equipment. Plus, it's all over the place, so people can get a taste for all of Pumpkinfest.
Yeah, and if you were here last year, if you were watching, you probably noticed that there are some changes this year. Most notably, there's no scaffolding. There were some concerns, especially downtown, right on the circle, that there wasn't enough of a drop zone. So if the scaffolding fell, potentially a lot of people could have been injured or killed if that gave way. So they've kind of just put more display room down on the street, and
well, that kind of brings it back to its roots, the original Pumpkinfest. I remember when my first Pumpkinfest, it was just walking around the buildings here, trick-or-treating. I was a little kid. We were walking around getting candy, taking candy from stores who were trick-or-treating right before Halloween, a week of it, and there were a few pumpkins laid out, and then more and more people over the years started bringing out jack-o'-lanterns until suddenly they go, well, we're setting a world record with jack-o'-lanterns lit, and then it became this huge fanfare, and it's been that way for something like 20 years or so.
Right, so it is pretty impressive how many pumpkins are out here. Certainly you can see some really interesting artwork. I mean, some people keep it pretty simple, some people don't. I mean, there are some pretty elaborate pumpkins that you'll see. There's some pretty simple ones. Obviously, everyone from artists to little kids are putting them out here, and locals. Some people from out of town do bring pumpkins. I don't know how many. But I do know I've seen people getting on the shuttle buses to come into town with them in hand, which I appreciate. I mean, if you're going to come, I would hope that you bring a pumpkin and sort of contribute.
Yeah, I have to go and carve another one. There's still plenty of time. It's only 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They'll be taking registrations into the evening here if you want to get your pumpkin. There's still plenty of time. I know I have to bring mine still. I actually carved one earlier in the week, but it didn't survive. It kind of fell apart in my living room. I guess I should have carved it the day or two before instead of a week before Pumpkinfest, because they don't always last. But anyways, I guess after we're on here, I'm going to go get another jack-o'-lantern, bring it on down to put into the numbers, because who knows, maybe we'll beat the record this year.
Maybe. I don't know. It's been hard, though. The last few years, it's
more fanfare than anything else, more people coming than actual people bringing jack-o'-lanterns.
Well, it's been hard to sustain the growth. I mean, you've got, once you had, I think we had like 28,000 or 29?
Something like that.
Somewhere around there. So once you hit that, I mean, it's hard to keep growing every year once you've got that many pumpkins. So I don't know. I hope we can beat it. At least beat our record. Even if we can't beat Boston, it'd be nice to set a new benchmark.
Yeah, that would be true. Well, anyways, you did mention that the merchants here in Keene are certainly enjoying this because it means a boom in business, especially during these economic times. But something that's interesting is an article that came out, was it a week or two ago, in Forbes magazine, talking about the economic conditions around the country and some pretty good news about New Hampshire and some New Hampshire towns, one of them being Keene, New Hampshire.
Right. I mean, Lebanon was actually found to be the least susceptible town to recession out of any town in the country. And, well, it was out of any town. I think Forbes is looking at some communities between like some economic areas between like 65,000 and 200,000. And Lebanon was in the best shape of any of them to weather the recession. Keene was number 3. I mean, the 3rd least vulnerable. So it looks like if you're living in Keene, you're in pretty good shape. And actually, Concord was the 7th least vulnerable. So New Hampshire doesn't seem to be set up to be doing all that bad.
Yeah, it's a tight-knit community. There's a lot of factors that go into this. Of course, we have the college here, the hospital, a lot of different ways that people can get jobs, make money. There's a lot of factory and manufacturing going on here, a lot of stuff in the medical industry, which there's always going to be a demand for, which really helps out.
And the college. I mean, between medicine and education, those are 2 areas that aren't so susceptible to swings in the economy because people view them as vital and they aren't quite as linked to, say, the stock market. So with Keene State College here in Antioch, as well as the hospital, I mean, those produce a lot of jobs in addition to all the other jobs you see in Keene. So here alone, you've got a pretty diverse economy for such a small area, and that's beneficial right now.
Well, I'm sure this Pumpkinfest is only going to be a boom in that sense, helping out the Keene communities, helping out the businesses here, which is really good. I mean, I like to see Keene thrive. I like to see things going on as the same. thrive here, supporting the local economy. It's good to see.
Yeah, you know, there are some questions that people have about how much the city spends on it, because if you're a downtown merchant,
that is true.
You make out pretty well. But I do know that the city overran. It dedicated itself to not spend more than 1% of its budget on Pumpkinfest, and I believe they ran over because the fire department said that, you know, to put on an event this size with the standards that they had, they needed more money than 1% of the city budget. So I do know there were some cost overruns, and I'm sure some people question that because, you know, if you just reside in Keene and maybe work at, say, the hospital or some other place that doesn't really get a lot of business as a result of this, you know, you do spend some of your money towards it. But overall, you know, I think it does benefit the local economy, and the costs are probably recouped. I mean,
yeah, and it certainly does put Keene, New Hampshire on the map because, I mean, we do have one of the most recession-proof towns, so that puts us on the map a little bit. But I think when a lot of people think of Keene that aren't from this area, they get it from the Keene Pumpkinfest. A lot of people know who we are because we were the original Pumpkinfest. We set the world record. We don't hold it now, but we were the holders of it for a number of years, and we started all this. So that's what a lot of people think of when they think of Keene.
Well, I'm amazed how many people are aware of Keene, New Hampshire. Most other cities this size, you wouldn't run into people halfway across the country who know about it.
Yeah, some people think it's more of a town than a city.
Well,
some
yeah.
people laugh when you call a city of 25,000 people a city and not a large town. But
oh, yeah, I mean, there are places with 500,000 people. Aurora, Colorado is a suburb of Denver. It has 500,000 people. I mean, that's almost 5 times as many people as live in Manchester. And Manchester is considered sort of a big city by our local standards. So certainly by many people's standards, this is a small town, not a city. But it's pretty well known, and Pumpkinfest is probably a big reason for that.
Right. All right, well, one thing I did want to get into a little bit here is the economy. It's hard to get away from it and talking about it. Stuff is always changing on it, but one thing that's not really changing so much is what a lot of the talking heads out there think is the problem. A lot of people are pointing towards this lack of regulations and the free market as the problem. And I know that people who are familiar with our show and watch it all the time have heard us say this over and over again. But over again and over again, when I'm watching the news or listening to the news, I hear people saying the economic downturn and the recession we're facing is due to a lack of regulation, is due to the free market. And I think that it's important for us to balance that out and have at least some voice out there saying, no, it's not that. It's the government intrusion in the first place and the economic system that the government built up that got us where we are.
Well, I mean, this week we had Alan Greenspan coming out and talking before Congress, and he was saying he was amazed that banks didn't do more he was blaming the banks, basically. He was saying he didn't calculate risk enough into the way he ran the Federal Reserve, and he was shocked that banks didn't protect their consumers more, their investors. And really what he was doing there was covering his butt, because he was chairman of the Federal Reserve for, I believe, 18 years. So he played a pretty major role in this crisis. I mean, he was Fed chairman for 2 decades leading up before this, and that's when the real estate bubble formed. And a large part of that was the fact that Greenspan and the Fed set interest rates. They brought them down to about 1% during the 90s. I think it was right around the time the tech bubble was starting to burst. And they were trying to prop up tech stocks in a way, much like they're trying to do now with real estate prices. And that just created this bubble. I mean, when you create that much cheap money, investors are obviously going to borrow it. You really can't blame them for borrowing that money. Now, in retrospect, sure, some banks made some very bad calls, and so did investors. But it's very difficult for them to make a proper decision when the Federal Reserve keeps changing the game. And that's really what happens when you have a central bank, is that the rules of the game are going to change in mid-flow. So in a free market, if the free market were setting interest rates, which it would have if we didn't have a central bank, and we didn't at one point in this country, I don't think you'd ever see interest rates down to 1%. That's just insane.
Yeah, and when you say money, that's a term that we talk about when we're talking about Federal Reserve notes, but I think that when the Founding Fathers created this country and wrote the Constitution, what we consider money, it would not be considered money to them. And for the larger part of this country's history, what we consider money today would not be considered money in the same standard as it was back when the country was formed and throughout the 1800s, and where we actually had something backing the money that we spent.
I mean, many people who don't watch the show regularly might not realize that it's written into the Constitution that only gold and silver are money. And it specifically says that Congress won't emit what are called bills of credit, which are, it's paper money. The colonies tried that during the Revolutionary War. They just turned on a printing press and printed pieces of paper that they called money, much like we do today. Of course, they were fighting a war at the time, so they were even less restrained than our central bank is, and they ruined their dollar. I mean, we almost got invaded by some foreign powers. We were having trouble paying back our war debt because the continental dollar wasn't worth anything. It was just paper. It didn't actually represent any value. And that's a problem I think some people have, because if I hand you $5, Toby, or if I hand anybody on the street around here $5, they're going to treat it like it has value. And it does, in that, other people will accept it and give you things for it in exchange for it. But there's not actually any backing behind that $5. So if we were to say double the money supply, then that $5 would only be worth $2.50. I mean, because there's a greater supply of dollars and less demand for those dollars. Interestingly enough, though, the dollar's actually been doing well this last week.
It's been doing well for a couple weeks now. As the economy around the world started to tank, the Federal Reserve note, the dollar, has been doing pretty well.
Well, there's one of the main reasons for that is a lot of the people who are getting out of the stock market are going into cash. And when they go into cash, they have to pick a currency. I mean, if you're an international investor, you're going to have to choose among international currencies. You're not automatically going to choose your own countries. And so a lot of foreigners are choosing dollars, and the yen actually is doing very well. So those two currencies are doing well because so many people are demanding them. They're buying them up. But that's sort of short term.
Right, that can't last forever because it's not money, it's credit. I think if we started calling it credit, it would mean it might get people thinking of what it actually means. I'm wondering, do most people know what the dollar is based on, that it isn't backed by anything, or do they know that this country was supposed to have a gold standard for its money where it's actually backed by something? Because this is harkening back to the root of the problem, where what got us into this mess in the first place is we create all this money out there, then we have a fractional reserve banking system which allows us to take out a whole lot more, allows people to take out a whole lot of credit, is what got us into the mess in the first place.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people still think we're on the gold standard, so I don't know. If somebody walks by who looks interested, maybe we'll ask them what they think about the monetary system. Hard to grab people, though. They seem to have their own agenda.
Yeah, if people are around, we'd love to hear their stories, whether it be something in politics, whatever's on your mind. This is Free Minds TV, so we'd like to talk about whatever it's on your mind, whether it be Pumpkinfest out here, we're here, what brought you here, where you're from, or you want to talk about something else, we'd love to interview you. We have an extra mic here, so if you're at home, you want to come down, or if you're just around here, we'd like to talk to you as well.
I don't know if anybody's got this on in local businesses.
Yeah, well, I went to the laundromat this morning, and it was on. I was watching No Spin here on Cheshire TV earlier this morning. Of course, No Spin will be on later tonight as well, so it is on some local businesses.
Oh, well, actually, let's talk to Mike about Keene Freedom Fest.
Yeah, Mike.
Mike, do you want to come on?
Mike is someone who's often behind the scenes on Free Minds TV, at least you have been for the past few weeks. Here, let me give you a microphone. I believe it's on there. Mike, acting as a camera operator behind the scenes, as also as a floor director, really helping out here. Something else you've been doing is organizing Keene Freedom Fest, which is going on tomorrow, October 26th, right here on Railroad Square in downtown Keene.
Yep, that's just a couple blocks away. And I've never been to the Keene Pumpkinfest before, and it's a little intimidating compared to what the Freedom Fest is going to be. It'll be fun, but not comparable in size.
Yeah, I don't think that would, unless everybody stayed here overnight, I don't think we have enough hotels to put everybody up. We do have quite a number of hotels in Keene, but it's not anywhere near enough to put up the 80,000 people that are going to be in attendance today.
This is a pretty remarkable phenomenon. I was in New York City downtown, and there was on 34th Street, there was like many blocks of tents, and I don't know what the event was, but it was wall-to-wall people, and there's more people here than there was in New York.
Yeah, it is pretty impressive how many people show up for this. And maybe we should let the viewers know what Keene Freedom Fest is going to be.
It's a liberty outreach event, so different organizations are going to be coming to help educate the public as to different ways that they can increase the amount of liberty in their personal lives.
Okay, and there's going to be a number of outreach tables and organizations, as I understand it.
All right, we're going to switch his mic out. I'm not, people apparently, maybe he wasn't hearing us before. So you've got a new mic on, Mike. Maybe we can start over. Let's just start over here. I'm not sure how much of that went out, how much didn't go out. Mike from behind the scenes here. Keene Freedom Fest is going on tomorrow. What is it? Let's start from the beginning.
It's a small event, hopefully to get larger. I think this is the largest of the third one so far. To increase the amount of awareness there is in the public about liberty. So there's going to be different organizations taking different tacks in life to get more liberty in people's everyday life. There's going to be the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire is going to be there, so that's a very political approach. There's going to be Bureau Crash, which is a much more, I'll say, free market approach. It's kind of in the middle, actually. There's going to be, you guys are going to be there filming. Ian Freeman from Free Talk Live will be there. So there's going to be a lot of different organizations just letting people know that there are other solutions than government coercion in order to get through their everyday lives.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be some fun events going on. I believe there's going to be a poker game that's sort of, I think it was put together unofficially, but they might even be betting money. So we'll see.
I think there's a pretty good chance of that going on again. And the stakes will be a little bit higher than last year, so instead of a penny game, it might be a nickel game. There's going to be 2 live bands.
Poker right there.
Yeah, high stakes, man. I'm going to have to, don't know if I can buy into that. But see, the point in that particular little bit of activism is that gambling is illegal and there's no victim in that. There's no victims.
Right.
Everyone who plays is volunteering to play.
Well, it's not totally illegal. The government has a monopoly on it with scratch tickets, which give you a very low chance of winning and
so we're not even
a lot
protesting.
Of poor people
we're just
money.
Introducing competition.
Right, I mean, I think the state lottery goes up to a $50 scratch ticket, but you can't play a game of poker for pennies and quarters.
And I used to work at a convenience store, and there's some people who used to play those scratch tickets like it's a casino, coming in and spending $1,000 in an hour simply on scratch tickets, where they'd probably have a little bit better odds even at a nickel poker game, or even some real gambling that gives some people some better odds.
I'd say in poker, not only do they have better odds, they have more control. They can bow out. It's all voluntary.
Plus, it's a game.
It's
a
game.
It's actually fun.
It's
to play.
enjoyable.
A scratch ticket isn't all that. I've played them before. They're not that much fun.
Right.
I'd rather play a card game.
There's also going to be 2 live bands performing. And I know one of the bands, and I kind of they're friends of mine, and I talked them into performing, and I thought that was great. I really love their music so far. But then another band came up to me and said, "Hey, can we perform?" And I thought that was fantastic. Josh Noon and the Federal Crime, if you've heard of them. And they're going to be there, and so there's going to be live music the whole event. There's going to be someone volunteered to sell food, so it's a Halloween theme. We're going to have Halloweeners and chips and salsa, so it is pretty varied, if not large.
So what time is this event going to be going on
11 a.m. till 2 p.m. tomorrow, Sunday, October 26th, right here in Keene, about 2 blocks that way on Railroad Square.
And I think it'll be a lot of fun. It's interesting because no matter, there's some people in the liberty movement who want to work in the system, some people want to work out of the system, people doing all sorts of things, working in the system through political gains. The New Hampshire Liberty Alliance is going to be here, I believe, as well as people doing civil disobedience in their own thing, which brings me to another point that I find very interesting about the event. The first time we had it, we got the government's permission, because if you're going to have an event like this, you're supposed to ask permission from the government, and we did that the first year. Last time we had it, there was no permission, but there was also no problems. We actually shared it with the Earth Festival that was going on. They let us share their space and share the event there with them. This year, have you gotten a permit, or are you going without?
We did not get a permit again, and the food salesperson did a little research, and they found out they would not need a permit, but they did not get one anyway. So there is that aspect of it. It's a very short event, and I am a little bit concerned that see, it's held in a public square. So if it's public and I'm the public, then I should be able to use it.
Right.
Now,
it's just right to assembly, basically.
Right. It's right to assembly, especially when we're talking about liberty. So that's one reason I didn't want to get the permit on principle. Another reason would be partially activism, to tell people what it's about, why we don't need a permit to be able to use the property that we're already paying for in taxes. But also, the purpose of the event is liberty outreach, and I don't know, it's a tough balance between getting the message across, and caving and getting the permit so that you can hold the event. So I'm really hoping that it doesn't become a problem. In the past events, although they have shared the space, the police were there and they watched and they didn't participate, but they talked to the people participating and they had no big deal. I'm hoping it's the same again this year, where they realize we're not harming anyone, we're doing nothing wrong except using a public space freely, and they'd leave us alone. I'm really hoping.
Yeah, well, I think everybody hopes that. Nobody's really looking for trouble. It's really just an event, a gathering, and trying to talk to other people and have a little fun while you're doing a little bit of activism. So hopefully there aren't any problems, and if it's anything like the last couple of years, there won't be. So
yeah, that's a good thing. I'm really looking forward to it. There's like 12 different exhibitors, and it's going to be fun.
And if people want to learn more information about it, where can they go to? I know that you've set up, there hasn't been a website in the past, but you set one up this year.
Yeah, and KeeneFreedomFest.com, and it's got all the information, the location, and all the exhibitors, and links to their site. So if you come to the event and learn about the particular method of gaining some liberty, you can then go back to the website and click on the link and go to their webpage and learn more about it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, and we look forward to being there tomorrow. Of course, we will be covering the event and having some footage from it on next week's edition of Free Minds TV. Also, I think the weather is supposed to be looking good. I know that they were predicting some rain showers previously, but it looks like it should hold out at least. I think there's a 20% chance of rain on the books right now, but other than that, it's looking like should be a pretty good day. I mean, there's a 70% chance of rain right now, and it's not raining.
Oh, and it's great out. Yeah, so 10% I can live with, or 20.
All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. And as people can see, it is a beautiful day out here. We are live at the Keene Pumpkin Festival here in downtown Keene, New Hampshire. Rain is in the forecast, but it's holding out. I know Keene No Spin this morning said there was going to be no rain. They were out here at 6 in the morning doing some filming, and they said that they were going to hold off the rain for everyone. So I'm hoping that they're right, and it'll hold off for the event, and maybe we'll get a sprinkle here or there. I think they were predicting some heavy dew, but that's about it.
I guess maybe we should thank No Spin then. But, yeah, no, it's great. It really is, and it's not all that cold today. It's been kind of chilly the last couple of weeks, I think. Maybe it's just normal.
It's fall, Nick. It's fall weather.
Well, yeah, but no, at night it has seemed kind of cold, and I guess they've gotten snow up north, although...
Have they?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything down here.
Yeah.
Even as far south as like Stoddard.
No, there's no inside pocket.
So winter's on its way.
No, I'm good with fall. I like fall. This is a good weather for me.
I like fall too, but we're right at the end of October, so I enjoy it. We've got another week or two left, and if you want to get out and enjoy the fall weather, then I would suggest coming down here if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, it is going to be one of the last beautiful days of fall here, and there couldn't be probably a better place to live with fall. I mean, New England is an amazing place for fall weather, and it's really, have a seat if you'd like, sir.
All right.
It's a beautiful place for fall weather, and all up and down the street of Keene, it's a beautiful place, especially with all these pumpkins. But we have a new person sitting down here. It's Anarcho Jesse, who also sometimes helps out on the show as a camera operator. How's it going, sir?
It's going awesome, actually. I'm doing all right. It's getting a bit chilly for me. I'm a small guy, so I probably should throw on another layer, but I'm having a good time here.
Now, I've been reading on some local forums that you're going to be doing something next week that's going to be angering a lot of people right here in Keene, New Hampshire. What are you going to be doing?
I am going to be burning the United States, the United Nations, and the state of New Hampshire flags in protest against the entire political system. It's not simply an anti-vote protest, but against politics in general and the political system. I think politics hurt us, and I don't know, every time, it seems like the celebration of that day for a lot of people is Election Day, which is why I'm doing it the day prior to Election Day. To me, that's probably the most political day out of the year.
So I take it you're not going to be voting?
No, I will not be voting. This is my anti-vote. This is my flagpole, as it were.
All right. So what do you hope to gain by doing this? Do you think that a lot of people are going to understand what you're doing? Well, I know that you're going to be doing it here right on the head of the square, you said, right?
Yes, right
so
on the square.
This is a place where the day before election, there's going to be a lot of people campaigning for their particular candidates out there. How do you think that they're going to respond to this? Are they going to understand, or are they just going to be angry?
You know what? I can't look into my crystal ball and find out how they're going to feel. I can only speculate. I imagine some people will ignore me. I imagine some people will have something to say. I imagine some people might act, but I also think that some people will say, well, why are you doing this? And they will ask me. I've got flyers that I'm going to hand out. Not flyers, but like a handout that explains all my reasons. I'm going to say things as I burn each flag and why I'm burning that specific flag. It's not like I'm just going to go out there, burn these flags, and leave them guessing, well, what was that for? I'm going to let them know. I'm going to make it very clear why I'm doing what I'm doing. But the reaction, I don't know. I can only guess. And I don't imagine it's going to make a lot of people happy, but...
Certainly controversial. I don't know how people are going to react. I don't know how much, personally, I don't know necessarily how much good it's going to do, but it will be interesting to see how it goes.
Well, I just feel that, like, being a supporter of liberty, eventually you have to let people know that part of liberty is being allowed to do whatever you want with your own property, whether it be burning flags. And I don't feel that these flags stand for what people say they stand for, or anything they may have once stood for. I mean, if it flies over other nations in oppressive occupation, if it's flown over this nation as freedom has been eroded so steadily, how can it possibly stand for liberty?
I have to ask about the state flag, though. How did the state flag get in there?
State flag, because tyranny, even on a small level, is still tyranny. Government, even if it's a small government, even if it's closer to a home government and you have more access to it, it's still tyranny to me. I mean, you can't, even if I feel a bit bad going on about this one, but if a slave master only beats his slave 8 times a day instead of 20 times a day, the slave is still being beaten. You know, that to me.
So I'm taking it your perfect government is no government at all whatsoever, right?
That's right.
Now,
or polycentric government.
Now, here's what I'm curious about. If the city of Keene and the state of New Hampshire and even the federal government gave you an option to just simply opt out and gave everyone the option to just opt out of the government and not be a part of it, would that be good enough for you?
Absolutely, actually. In fact, that's as long as they allowed me to opt out, I don't have to pay for their services. I mean, sure, the city of Keene might have services that I can't find anywhere else that I would pay them for out of my own pocket. Got no problem with that. But if all the governments gave it, myself and other people the option to opt out, I'd be happy. In fact, that would really be that'd be something. I'd be satisfied enough with that.
All right. So when is this going down? You said the day before.
This is going on Monday the 3rd at 2 p.m. here at Central Square. A lot of people tell me they're going to be there. A Keene State College class is supposed to show up. I had no hand in that. People are finding out from people that are not me, and they're like, I heard about it, and I'm going to be there.
I think that a lot of people want to turn out just to see what happens, because I know that I've seen people burn the UN flag, which I'm all about burning the UN flag. But I don't know about how I feel about the others. I'm more of a minarchist type person, but it'll be interesting. We appreciate it. So, well, I know I'll probably be there watching, see what happens. So best of luck to you. Anything else that you think people should know about it?
Say again.
Anything else you think people should know about this?
My intention is not really to incite a riot or a brawl. I'd like to go home with all my teeth. If people bring it up and make a big issue of it, they're probably only going to magnify the issue because it's going to stick around in people's thoughts. If people don't like it and they see me doing it, just leave it alone. You know, everybody goes out there and they cast their vote. They get to have their parades. They get to fly their flags. I'd like to burn a flag, and what I do really pales in comparison to everything else that the state and government does.
Do you anticipate any problems with the fire department, a lack of a burn permit on public property?
No, well, I think they might hassle me because for political reasons. I don't think that they'll just let me go on it, but I plan on bringing a fire extinguisher. I plan on bringing a couple buckets of water. You know, I've thought this all out. I'd like them. I mean, anything that they can do, I really think is just an attempt to circumvent what I'm trying to do. It's not so much about the safety of the issue; it's what I'm doing that they won't like. And since it's but I'll be doing it on public property, and it's protected speech, so I really shouldn't have any problems.
All right.
I hope not.
We'll see how it goes. Thanks for coming on and letting people know what's going on. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
So it is Free Minds TV, all different philosophies of life here. We are usually more of the minarchist type, less government, not no government at all, but there are certainly people who work behind the scenes that feel differently, and of course there's people who think that we go too far with the size of government that we want, both ways. We're kind of caught in the middle here.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that even if you disagree with what somebody has to say, which I think I would probably characterize myself as, it sort of bothers me. This protest sort of bothers me. But Jesse still has a right to, make his point and say what's on his mind. That's what America's all about, and that's what liberty is all about. So you have to let people express themselves, even if you disagree with it.
I'm pretty partial to the New Hampshire flag. I like that a lot. But I know there's people out there that absolutely don't, so you got to respect their views as well.
Yeah, and the U.S. flag.
Where's Lauren?
Oh,
Lauren?
Is Lauren?
I don't know where Lauren. Hey, Lauren, how's it going? Lauren, want to come on? You need a microphone, though. Our direct.
I got a spectator.
We need microphones for you, though. So there's a microphone over there. You should hook that up. We've got some more people trying to come on here, talk to all different people about what's going on here at Keene Pumpkin Festival.
Yeah, and while we're waiting, I just wanted to make the point that, even the U.S. flag, personally, I think, do I have some conflicts about what the government does? Yes, but I don't think there's anything to be gained by it.
Are you okay with burning the UN flag?
The UN? Oh, I've done that myself. That's a completely different issue, and it's a completely different entity. So, yes, personally, I've done that, and I don't have any qualms about doing that again. In fact, I think that happens in November. There's usually an annual protest against the UN, and I think the U.S. should withdraw. That actually, doing that would make me a lot more happy with the U.S. flag if we would withdraw from the UN. So, everybody has their priorities, and that's just where mine are.
All right. While we're waiting for people, if you guys aren't familiar with the show, I know that we're on Cheshire TV. A lot of people know who we are, like us, hate us. They know who. A lot of people know who we are. But if you don't know anything about us, log on to our website, freemindstv.com. There's all sorts of archives up there. Plus, there's also a radio show that we do live every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's live on the internet, as well as scattered across the United States. It's on a few different stations, nationally syndicated, all at freemindstv.com. All right, coming on the show in the third seat, we have the director of Free Minds TV, doing all sorts of different things, not always directing, but always somewhere helping run the show. I don't think the show would be possible without her. At least we've had a lot of issues when she's been locked up for various protests when she's not here. Lauren Canario, welcome to the show.
Hi. How you doing?
Pretty good. So a lot of people know you as the freedom activist, Lauren Canario, who does not mind going to jail for what you believe in. Can you explain to people your philosophy and why you don't mind? You've been to jail, what, 5 times now?
Yeah, about 5 or 6.
For protesting the government in some way or another, all different things, whether it be eminent domain abuse or helping out the Browns when their situation last year up in Plainfield, New Hampshire, where they were being arrested on tax evasion charges, all different reasons. Why do you not mind going to jail? Someone like me, the threat of jail, being in a jail cell, behind bars, that's scary. I don't want anything to do with it. It doesn't bother you at all. Or maybe it does bother you, but it's okay with you that you're willing to do it anyways.
It's tolerable. It's, I'm sure in a few years when the police state is cracked down farther that there'll be a lot more beatings and stuff. But right now, it's, so far I haven't been beaten by any police people.
So you take a philosophy on where you don't really, you don't help the police out when they're trying to arrest you. You don't walk where they tell you to go. You don't sign the paperwork all the time.
Right.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, it started when I was at a city council meeting in New London, Connecticut, the land of eminent domain. And a lot of people wanted to get into the meeting. And the fire chief was saying, no, there's too many people. We can't let you in. And I'm going, oh, man, that's wrong. You can't keep people out of a city council meeting. They all want to be here. They all want to, make their voices heard, and you're pushing them away. And so I thought, that's way too wrong. And the police said for me to get out of the way, out of the stairway, to quit blocking things. And I said, no, this is wrong. You can't do this. And so they picked me up, 4 of them, 2 on my arms and 2 on my legs, and dragged me down to the paddy wagon. And I said, well, if you're going to drag me into jail, you're going to have to drag me everywhere inside the jail too. So I decided to have them drag me from cell to cell, to the courtroom, out of the courtroom, and everywhere.
And that case that you're referencing is actually, it was Kelo versus New London, which became a Supreme Court case. And unfortunately, the case actually expanded government's power to seize private property and give it to other companies, basically.
Right.
So unfortunately, the courts didn't rule that well on that, but some people might actually be familiar with that case who are from outside of town and maybe weren't following the story. They may still be familiar with the actual backstory on that.
So my philosophy is that if you're doing something normal, like trying to keep your house or walking down a road or sitting on a porch reading a book, that you shouldn't be arrested. And if they do try to arrest me while I'm doing normal, reasonable things that any human being should be able to do, then I just don't cooperate.
Well, you were actually arrested for reading a book on the porch.
Yes.
That was also in New London, and that was that the second time you were arrested?
Yeah.
So you were basically on one of the homes that was to be seized by the New London Development Corporation, I believe it was, and you refused to leave.
Right.
But you did have the actual owner's permission to be there, as I remember.
They didn't consider him the actual owner, I guess.
Well, they didn't because they were stealing his property, but he was, the resident, the individual. But and there have been some recent arrests. You're kind of a right to travel advocate.
I was a
so you don't really recognize that the government has a right to require a license for you to drive or a vehicle registration.
Well, I actually, when I first got to New Hampshire, I signed up for a license, but they wanted my social security number, and I didn't want to give it to them. So I said, well, forget that. And then they wanted me to register my car, but then they wanted me to do an inspection, which, go take your car to a mechanic and make sure that everything's okay. And I thought, that's just a scam for money to get the mechanics, or give the mechanics. I can tell when my car needs maintenance or not. And I don't need the government to tell me that, so I just said, well, forget about that too.
All right, so there's the most recent arrest was when you went to try to go get a camera back. Let's go back to arrest before that, prior to that, where you were trying to walk on the sidewalk, walk to Ed and Elaine's property in Plainfield, New Hampshire, when they were held up against the federal government for tax evasion. You were trying to walk on the road that leads to their property. You were arrested for walking there, and the feds actually took your camera and confiscated it for almost an entire year, or maybe more than a year.
Right.
Then when you went to get it back, they arrested you again on a different, completely separate charge that happened over at the IRS building here in Keene, New Hampshire.
Right. Well, for standing quietly in the IRS office, they arrested me for that.
So you were arrested for that. You had a trial. They ordered you to pay a fine, as I understand it, of like $150 for disobeying or something like that, some trumped up charge.
Or was it like
disorderly conduct and disobeying a police officer? I think something like that.
So that was your latest arrest, where I know that the viewers of Free Minds TV who regularly watch us might have seen quite a few mistakes during the show. And one week we messed it up so bad we couldn't even produce this show when you were gone. So it has been happening recently as well. But you're now out, you're now well, and you got your camera back, as I understand.
Right.
So.
But that's not the end of it, because I did get arrested for going through the metal detector in the federal building while I was trying to get my camera. So that's coming up in November.
Oh, you have another trial going on. It seems like there's too many to count. How do you feel about it? How do you think it's going? I mean, you've had many times in jail now. Do you think that it's effective? Whose hearts and minds you're trying to change, whether it be the court, the people who are in the court, the bailiff, the judges? Do you think you're getting to them? Do you think you're getting to people when you're in jail, maybe teaching some people who are behind bars about your philosophies as well?
Yeah, I'm just trying to show an example of somebody who hasn't hurt anybody, hasn't broken anything, hasn't even lied to anyone, and I'm still in jail there. So I'm trying to affect everybody that I come in contact with. And a lot of people write me letters and say, hey, man, I thought we were in a police state, but now I know we're really in a police state. Yeah.
When this is something I'm always wondering about. When you are behind bars and you're talking to other people who are behind bars, do you tell them about what's going on, why you're there, tell them your story?
Sure, they love to hear the stories.
How do they react to it?
They go, oh, man, you make them drag you into the courtroom and out of the courtroom? That's great. Yeah.
I can imagine.
And I go, if everybody did that, how fast the justice system would move. Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, certainly you're somebody who's very willing to stand up for what they believe in, and so far you haven't backed down. So we'll see how this next trial goes, and hopefully it won't result in any jail time. And looks like we have somebody else who wants to be on the show.
We need to hook him up with Lauren's microphone. So Lauren, thanks so much. It's a pleasure, and you'll always be behind the scenes as well. So yeah, we are here live at Keene Pumpkin Festival in downtown Keene, right next to the head of the square. You can come on down. There's another chair here. We've got a microphone that we can talk to you about whatever it is. We've been interviewing some politically active folks, but if you want to talk about something else, just talk about the pumpkins or whatnot, we'd love to talk about that as well. So it's a beautiful day. The weather is holding off. I mean, beautiful in a fall standard of the word. If this was summer day, I'd be kind of crappy out, but it's fall, and so this is some good fall weather.
Oh yeah, and you know, the foliage is coming down by, so fall is winding down. I make the most of that remaining warm weather.
Right.
What's your name?
Keegan.
And
Keegan.
the snow's going to be here soon.
So good, knows it.
Thanksgiving and then Christmas.
Yeah, don't mind.
And we have somebody else.
Hey, how's it going? What's your name?
Keegan. Going very good.
Are you from the Keene area?
Swansea.
Swansea. So have you been to Pumpkinfest before?
Yes, I have.
How are you enjoying this one?
Pretty fun.
Awesome. So, you can.
Bring a pumpkin this year?
Yeah, we did. We made them in school.
Okay, yeah, I remember we used to do that pretty much all the way from like middle school through high school. We would make time to do that. You carve anything special or just a face?
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. So do you think we're going to break the record this year?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. I think it's over 33,000 pumpkins. What's your guess on what we're going to get this year?
I don't know, but we can do it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Have you been around the whole thing? I haven't walked around yet. I came here and I sat here. You haven't yet, so you're still looking forward to doing that?
Yeah.
All right. Anything else that you want to say to the folks? You're on live TV.
Oh, well, it's pretty awesome. I can tell you that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the upcoming election? You have any thoughts on that? If you
No.
could vote, who would you vote for right now?
I don't know.
All right.
Not really into that stuff.
Hey, I'm totally with you. I'm not really into that stuff either, but we still end up talking about it a
It
lot.
seems like we do, yeah.
What grade are you in?
I'm in 7th.
How are you enjoying that?
It's all right.
You gonna be
You going to Monadnock then? Or?
I am in Manana.
Okay.
so you're gonna be in high school in a couple of years. Looking
Yep.
forward to that?
Yeah.
Any plans on what you're gonna be when you grow up?
No, not yet.
All right. Well, it's whole world in front of you. I think that there's a lot to look forward to in it. So.
Yeah, and maybe Cheshire TV will still be here if you like being on TV. I think Swansea residents can get on for free, so in a few years, maybe you can
You
have
could
your
do
own
it now.
TV
Have you
show.
ever thought of making your own TV show?
No, but that would be pretty awesome.
You can do it. In fact, anyone can do it if they just want to. If they're in the Cheshire TV radius, or I think outside people can too if they just either volunteer or pay a fee, can come down and make their own TV show. So if you like it, that's something that you might want to think about. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Yep.
If anybody else is watching this and wants to get on, come on down. We've got about 15 minutes left, and it's glad to see a young person who's comfortable with the camera. It's odd though, like young people don't seem quite as intimidated by being on camera, being on microphone.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty intimidated by it still, and we've been on for like 2 years, I think.
I think the microphones, for me, being on radio is a lot easier than TV.
Yeah, I like the...
Because people can't see me. So.
Right, so I could like scratch my nose or something and people aren't watching me when I'm on, when we're on the radio. But here, especially when we're live right now and we're running out of stuff to say, hoping that someone will come and have a seat, it is helpful that I like the radio a little bit better. And we are live, but I like TV too. I mean, I like them both. They both have their own special ways.
Speaking of radio, Keene Freedom from Free Talk Live is here to join us. And
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, you just get here? Or?
Yeah, what a beautiful day. I mean, amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome down here. And you're nice within walking distance of Pumpkinfest too, which must be nice because trying to drive here is almost impossible.
I mean, on a day like this, there's no reason not to be out walking or on your bike. I mean, it's such a great city for that. So.
Absolutely. So you're not originally from Keene. You're from Florida.
But I feel like I'm originally a
well,
Granite
you've been
Stater,
here for a couple of years, right?
Stater. Yeah, exactly. Well, how many years do you have to be here to be a Granite Stater? I feel like I was born a Granite Stater.
Well, I think that you have a lot more in common with people from New Hampshire, the live free or die mentality, than people from Sarasota, Florida, the people down there who just
I agree.
love their big government.
Well, yeah, I was having a conversation with the assistant city manager this week, and he actually is from Sarasota as well, or he used to be the manager or something like that down in Venice, which is right next to Sarasota. And he was telling me that down there, the kind of people that that you're dealing with are just completely different. Down there, people want to get into your business, whereas up here, it's more of, you leave me alone, I leave you alone. Everybody's kind of got that. A lot more people apparently have that attitude. At least that's what he was sharing with me.
Were you talking to the assistant manager about the couch incident that you've been having?
Yeah, I was.
Maybe we should go over that, because some of the viewers watching us now haven't watched the regular show.
Oh, okay. Well, the city people have, I guess, their code enforcement department, and the city manager guy tells me that, Mr. Kopczynski, I believe is his name, but he tells me that here, another one of the differences is that up here they apparently have to get a complaint from somebody in order to go and do a code enforcement action. So apparently they got a complaint from somebody down the street about my tenants. I have a duplex and my tenants have a couch in their yard. And so they didn't like that very much, and they wrote me this fine, and they threatened me with a court date and all that. And I basically said to them, look, I'd just like to meet this person, whoever the person is. I'd like to have them come and meet me, like a neighbor would come and meet me, and then I'll get rid of the couch. But until then, I don't appreciate being threatened. So, and I'm sorry, but it is a threat. I mean, if they give you these fines and you don't pay.
Well, it's like $200, right? And then it goes up.
Yeah, and it goes up, and then now they're trying to take me into their court, which I don't want. I don't want conflict. I want to get along. I want to be neighborly. And what they're doing isn't really very neighborly, and that's all I'm asking for, is just people to interact like good neighbors.
And you had originally offered simply to have the neighbor who complained, if they would talk to you about it, you might, you'd work it out with them and remove the couch or whatever, if the city would just drop it and leave it alone.
Yeah.
Apparently they were too scared. Or
they were, and I kind of understand that, because the society that people live in, they've sort of been trained that, well, you shouldn't go and get into conflict with people directly. Call the city and we'll take care of it for you.
Is there really conflict, though? Because in that situation, I mean, nobody's actually threatening anybody necessarily. You're just saying,
it's true, it's not. You're right. I mean, if you just come by your neighbor's house and you say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I noticed this ugly couch, and I don't think it's really, I don't appreciate you having it there. That seems like the adult way to approach things, whereas calling the men with guns, the people that are calling themselves the city, to enforce your neighborly issues, that's the problem. And I could see that if she was doing that, and then if I found out who she was, I might want to retaliate against her, because that's what people are sort of encouraged to do, is use the system instead of being good neighbors. I don't know if I'm making much sense on this.
No, I mean, I think that a lot of people have been following it, and if people who are unfamiliar can follow the whole story, it begins, and the chronicle of it is all available at freekeene.com.
It is at
starting at the beginning, because this is a long saga that's been going on for quite a while.
And the funny thing is, the couch had been there for 2 years. I know the neighbors, I've talked to the neighbors across the street, they barely even knew it existed. So somebody complained after 2 years, and was like, just come and meet me, talk like adults. We'll get it taken care of, and I'm not going to move it until I'm stopped being threatened. That's my real objection here. Don't threaten me with a cage or stealing my home from me over a piece of garbage in the yard.
Now, you had a court date scheduled for, when was it? Was it yesterday, or is it coming up?
It was the 29th. They rescheduled it to the 14th of November, and I might actually point out the neighbors and the tenants are using the couch. There's a Halloween guy, like a scarecrow kind of guy,
like the stuffed bags of
you can see photos over at freekeene.com, and so
it's now a Halloween decoration. It's no longer a couch.
Right, it's a year-long Halloween decoration. It's one of those things. So it's their yard, it's their couch. What's the big deal? If it's a big deal, come talk to me. We'll work it out.
All right. Well, I know that I've been following the case intently, and a lot of other people will, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the end here. And I'm sure that we'll be reporting on it.
Well, we'll be getting pool coverage, I guess, because now the court has changed it. Originally, the court they allowed cameras, but you couldn't pan or zoom them. And then Dave Ridley, activist here in New Hampshire, challenged that by saying he would pan and zoom his camera even if it meant going to jail. So the judge reversed that decision and said, well, now you can pan and zoom and bring in whatever recording devices you want, basically.
Right.
And now he's allowing a camera, but only one camera, I believe.
Right, so it's back to the way it was, except we've gotten a little bit of ground in that the one cameraman can now pan the camera. However, I still think this is an infringement upon the individual's liberty to be the media, and it's an infringement upon creative choices. You know, if you go in there as Free Minds TV and you happen to get the go-ahead to be the one camera, but then WMUR is also wanting that same footage, well, what if you shoot the footage in a way that they wouldn't think is really airable? What if you're using a widescreen format and they don't want that? So it really is taking away people's freedom to report and be the media individually.
Is it just a judge arbitrarily decides who gets to film? Or,
it seems that way. Yeah.
I mean, I would think so. Basically, yeah. I mean, the judge has a lot of power within the court.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we are running out of time here, Ian, but it's been great having you on, telling your story. We'll also be covering it in the future, and if people want to see the whole thing, it's at freekeene.com.
Right.
And of course, your radio show, Free Talk Live, can be listened to
tonight. Actually,
it's all over the place now here in Keene, isn't it?
It's on 1220, 1290. 103.1 and 104.1 tonight at 7 o'clock.
All right, and of course it's on 6 nights a week at freetalklive.com.
That's right, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at Freedom Fest.
Thanks, appreciate it. Have a good one. All right, so we are wrapping things up for our show, at least here on Keene Pumpkinfest. But that doesn't mean it's over. It's going to be going on into the evening. Of course, Cheshire TV's live coverage will be going on throughout the Pumpkinfest until it's over, and then they'll be taking things down.
Yeah, I think they'll be going right up till the fireworks and getting some footage of that. So I'm not sure if it's all going to be live coverage for the rest of the night, but I think there might be some tapes that get recycled in there. But there's going to be continuing live coverage throughout the day. So stay tuned if you want to know what's happening. If you want to find out what the pumpkin count is, just tune into Channel 8 or go to CheshireTV.org and you can find all that out.
Yeah, and there's live coverage on the internet as well, and there's still time to bring your pumpkin down to get a piece of the action, get in on breaking the record. Real quick, how's it going? What's your name? Josh. Josh, are you from the area?
Yeah.
Did you bring a pumpkin?
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to beat the record this year?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you want to give a prediction on how many? It's always hard to predict, but...
1,000?
I think we might break 1,000.
I think the record is something like 33,000. So I think hopefully we've gotten 1,000 already, but that would be cool. Where are you from?
I'm just from Keene.
From Keene? Awesome. You go to school here?
Yeah.
What grade are you in?
6.
Awesome. Well, we're out of time for today, but it's been nice having you stop by. Say hello.
Do you have anyone you want to say hi to before we go away?
Hey, Austin.
All right.
Do you want to say hi real quick? Just talking to his mic. We don't have much time here. What's your name?
My name is Edwin Guyette, and yeah, I'm here, and I live here. And,
What's your prediction for the pumpkins this year?
we're gonna win.
We're gonna win. How many do you think we'll get? More than 1,000?
Yeah, it's not easy, but like what? I don't get why they don't have the big this.
There were safety concerns, I guess. Yeah, they were worried that the scaffold could fall or something like that. I don't know. Yeah,
All right.
It is.
Well, we are out of time. It's been a pleasure. For the viewers at home, stay tuned to live coverage of the Keene Pumpkinfest, and you can check us out online at freemindstv.com. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the weekend.